What's your favorite scary movie? That question has been in the forefront of popular culture for nearly 30 years now, ever since its iconic utterance in Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson's first Scream movie. The funny thing is, even with so many movies to choose from, even then, my answer to that question is actually still Scream. That wasn't a cue. I just finished reading the new book, Your Favorite Scary Movie: How the Scream Films Rewrote the Rules of Horror by Ashley Cullins. It's a dive into the entire history of the Scream franchise, starting with the one-act play that Kevin Williamson wrote in college that gave him the seeds that would eventually become the script he called Scary Movie. And it goes right up until the eve of the filming of Scream 7, which comes out next February. It's a good book, full of thoughtful analysis of what it is that makes the film stand out, interviews with all of the writers, directors, actors, and other people who've been involved with the franchise from the very beginning, and in the centerpiece, a loving tribute to the late Wes Craven. Cullins comes across as a bit of a cheerleader for the franchise rather than an objective journalist, but, I'm kind of a cheerleader for the franchise myself, so that really doesn't bother me. The thing about the Scream franchise is just how innovative it is. Not just when the first movie came out, but even today. Spoilers for a 29-year-old movie coming right up. The original Scream came out in 1996, in an era when the slasher film was almost extinct. What made it work was that it was really 3 movies in one. It was a slasher movie, it was a satire, and it was a whodunit mystery. And it worked as all 3 movies. Making a slasher movie is the easiest of the 3. You put a guy in a mask, give him a knife, wave him towards some unsuspecting teenagers, and bam, you got yourself a slasher. The satire is what really made Scream stand out, though. For the first time, this was a slasher movie about people who watched slasher movies. It was meta before meta became a thing. They knew the rules, they knew the tropes, and that allowed the movie to subvert them. For example, Drew Barrymore was easily the most famous person in the cast at the time. She was front and center in all the marketing for the movie, and by all of the rules, you would have expected her to be the final girl, the one who fights the bad guy at the end. And what happens? Instead, she's the first victim. After that, all bets are off. Not only that, but the movie was legitimately funny. Funny lines, funny performances, characters that made you laugh and actually care about them even before Ghostface shows up. The biggest subversion, though, may be the final twist, that there were actually 2 killers. That's what made it such a great mystery. The entire cast was under suspicion, and there were red herrings all over the place. And because the viewer was looking for the traditional one killer, that made it much more difficult and more fun to try to arrive at a solution. Like any great mystery, it's easy to see the clues after you know what the answer is, but I think a lot of us forget just what a big swing it was at the time. But no matter how good it was, I don't think people would be writing books about it 3 decades later if it was just one good movie. It's not. It's a great series. A lot of slasher movies fall victim to fatigue because you get tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. Just how many times can the villain escape justice or rise from the grave before it just becomes too hard to accept? But with Scream, you don't have a continuing villain. Ghostface is just a mask. Anybody can put it on. So that means that every movie starts over at square one in terms of the mystery. And because of the evolution of pop culture, you get a whole new array of movie tropes to play with. The first film was a satire of slasher movies. The second movie was a satire of sequels. Scream 3 was about trilogies. And people thought that would be the end of it. Scream had revitalized the slasher genre and brought with it a whole host of imitators, self-referential horror movies that tried to do what Scream did. But horror, like all entertainment, goes through cycles. The cycle of Scream imitators eventually faded away and was replaced with a rash of remakes. And that gave us the target for Scream 4. Not a remake, but a satire about remakes. Tastes continue to evolve. Another decade passed, and Scream 5 was about reboots, elevated horror, whatever that means, and the sort of toxicity of a certain portion of the fan base. And although Scream 6 is a little less obvious, which is appropriate once you get to the villain reveal, it's really a movie about franchises. I'm not sure what Scream 7 is going to be about next year, and that's okay, because I've got faith that Kevin Williamson, for the first time directing a movie based on the seeds that he planted back in 1996, is going to do a great job paying tribute to the world and the characters that we've all come to love. The formula is so brilliant that all you've got to do is wait a few years, see what's going on in horror, and you've got something new to apply it to. There are a lot of good scary movies. There are a lot of great characters and franchises, but Scream is my favorite, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So as Roger L. Jackson keeps asking, what's your favorite scary movie? Tell me in the comments. And if you're looking for books about monsters and movies, I've got a couple of them. The Beginner and Opening Night of the Dead. At Amazon.